Today, I want to talk about how learning to live more intentionally has given me more focus to improve my relationships, mental health, and personal finance. Hopefully, my experience will give you more courage to take control of your own destiny, and make sure you stay tuned until the end of the video because I'm going to give a recommendation of the book which has had the single biggest impact on my life in terms of intentionality. But back to that original question. Do you feel like you're still waiting for your real life to happen? I'm sure at some point we've all felt how invasive the clutter and the baggage in our lives can be. The world's built for extreme convenience, and if we don't correct course from time to time, we can drift for years without really realising where we're heading. For many, the answer is minimalism, and that can be a great lifestyle choice. But for me, it has to be in service of something more aspirational. Intentional living is about charting out a clear path based on our core values and being mindful in every moment to make sure that every action we take is a step towards our goals. Like a lot of people my age, I basically drifted through high school and university, narrowing down the subjects based on the best marks that I was getting. But I never really thought about what it was that university was in service of in the grand scheme of my life. At the time, I'm sure I would have revelled in the idea that I was someone who was spontaneous, carefree, and didn't need a grand plan in life. Looking back, I recognise that as bravado that was hiding some insecurities and vulnerabilities about the real truth. I envied people who did have a plan in life. And in fact, there were flashes of inspiration and clarity as to what my North Star could be, but I didn't allow myself to follow it. Whether it be the music that I was making but never sharing or performing, the YouTube channel that started when I was about 20 and quickly deleted because I didn't want to admit that I wanted to make YouTube videos. Whatever I found that I was passionate about, I left it in the wilderness to be forgotten. Except they weren't really forgotten. I often thought about them and wished that I'd made them more central to my life. And I'm sure this is something that a lot of you can empathise with. But when we look back at the choices we could have made and the person that we could have become as a result, it's almost as if we're looking at a shadow identity. And sometimes it's out of view and we completely forget about it, but something might happen to bring it into sharp focus and we see it there looming over us, a spectre of what could have been. But the repercussions of simply drifting through life and reacting to things can manifest themselves in much more insidious ways in our real lives too. Because along with all of that clutter, emotional baggage and misdirected energy comes strained relationships, missed opportunities, and poor personal finance. I personally spent a lot of my 20s living month to month on a credit card. I still feel the impact of that in my life today. There was even a time when I was working at a fashion retailer in Germany and I was spending about 20% of my monthly wages on clothes that I'd seen while working on the website. Now that's not an intentional decision, that's a byproduct of spending a lot of time on a platform which is optimised to sell you things. But the truth was that I couldn't afford it and I didn't need the clothes that I was buying. And I know that I could be self-disciplined because at the time I was going to the gym maybe 5 or 6 times a week. And unfortunately, that credit card debt ended up bringing an end to that as well because I could no longer afford to actually go and train. In fact, my absolute low point was one day when I went to the gym, prepared to get back into my training routine and realised that my direct debit had bounced and I had to sheepishly leave the gym and trudge back home in the rain. At that point, I knew that I had to do something to change my outlook on life because I could no longer go on like this. From that point on, I became obsessed with positive thinking and self-help, and I realised that the way forward for me was to start being more intentional about absolutely every aspect of my life. Because I wasn't just spending money on clothes, I was wasting it in situations that I didn't even really want to be in. I started to identify groups of friends who only really triggered bad habits and bad behaviours and started focusing more on the core relationships that really mattered in my life. Over time, I gradually learned how to curb my more excessive habits. But even after all that, only now do I feel I have enough courage and conviction to follow my new North Star and get to a place where I'm in complete control of my life. I tell you this because I hope that if you recognise any of that in yourself, you know that there's a way out, that there is a way to take more control of your life, but it will take a real intentional effort over years of practice. One book which really helped me along the way is Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and it's about the disciplined pursuit of less. I'm going to put up a short review of this over the next couple of days, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. But I can recommend it to anyone who wants to take their life into their own hands. If you found value in this video, then please consider subscribing and let me know in the comments what your North Star is and the actions that you plan to take to get there. Leave a like as well, because that really helps me understand the kind of videos that you like to watch. Until the next one, stay safe and I'll see you in a bit.